and welcome. Yay, thank you all for being here. My name is Danielle Amato. I'm the director of new plays and dramaturgy here on the Globe at the Globe. So on behalf of our staff and our board and our artists, I'm very happy to welcome you to the Carl and Vicki Zeiger Insight Seminar. Are Carl or Vicki here? No, okay, well, we think of them fondly in their absence. I want to welcome the director of Small, Jessi D. Hill. I want to thank you for running upstairs from actually making the show and taking the time to talk to us a little bit about the show. Yeah. I'm going to give you guys an introduction to Jessi from her bio. Jessi's a New York-based director who's worked extensively with new plays and new voices. Her work has been seen on some of the most important off-Broadway stages, including New York Theater Workshop, the Public Theater's Joe's Pub, Primary Stages, Labyrinth, Women's Project, Club Thumb, La Mama, and Ensemble Studio Theater. She has directed world premieres by writers like Crystal Skillman, Chisa Hutchison, Matthew Freeman, and Larissa Fasthorse, among many others. Regionally, her productions have appeared at George Street Playhouse, ART, People's Light, Diversionary Theater, and you have to tell us what you did at Diversionary. I'll ask that in a moment. Theater Squared, Orlando Shakes, and the Contemporary American Theater Festival. And internationally, her work has been presented in Edinburgh, London, Berlin, Hamburg, Brussels, New Zealand, Ukraine, and Rome. She is a graduate of the Yale School of Drama. So thank you so much for joining us. Before we start, I'd love to know how many of you here have seen the piece already? Ooh, so some have. Jessi, do you have like an elevator pitch for the show or like a little short description that you use to say, oh, you should come see Small?
I am starting to talk about it like a dance piece.
Okay, say more.
Because most everything is rendered through Robert's characterization and physicality, and there's especially in this in the round production, an athleticism to the way that he approaches the performance that ends up looking like a dance show by the end of it. That's my hope. So I always want people to come prepared to see something very, very taxing and physical. It wants to exhaust the audience on purpose. And it's a really delicate balance with the show. So I try to, in the elevator, as you say, prepare everyone for how taxing it can be, because you really go through some really difficult territory with him. True to life, everything in the show is true.
Yeah, so it's a show that I would say you could use many descriptors for it. It's a one-person show.
Yes.
It is a biographical drama,
yes.
Autobiographical drama. It is a sports play.
Yes.
It is a dance piece. So there are many, many descriptors. It's hard to encapsulate in the elevator pitch. I mean, you've been with this play since its early readings, like in 2019.
Yes.
Is that right? And
yeah.
I'm curious what first drew you to Robert's story and what made you feel like it needed to be told on stage?
Robert and I had the same agent at one point. This is not like a fancy story. She was trying to make money off of both of us. 20% instead of 10%. And she introduced us. She thought that I would, she had seen other shows that I had directed which do really have a physical theater component to them often, and a virtuosity in the performance and a simplicity on the stage that elevates the performance. So I think when she became familiar with this play and that he wanted to work on it, he was asking to be matched with a director and introduced to directors. I read the piece, and knowing that it was autobiographical, I'd never read a story like it. And when I got the script, it ended with, I don't want to be a spoiler, but it ended with him giving up his racetrack, and that's it.
It is the story, just for people who might not know, of a young man who decides that he wants to become a jockey. And the sort of trials and tribulations that he goes through in order to maintain or even attain a career in that field, and how challenging and difficult it is for him. And then the transition that he makes from that into being a professional Broadway dancer.
And I think he'd be fine with me telling you that when I read the script, it ended with him going up into the stands and getting a couple ice creams and a hot dog, and the lights went out. And so when I knew about Robert's dance career, And so I said, well, this is an incredible writing and an incredible story. I got to meet this guy and see if he's a good actor, because I'm actually not going to work on a show like this if the performer isn't good. So we actually happened to live very close to each other in New York City, and he invited me over to his living room, and I said, will you read the piece for me? And he got up on his feet, and he practically had it memorized in its current state, and he read it for me, and I just had to work on it. I said, okay, he's good. I can help this guy to do this. So that was 2016. Obviously, the pandemic interrupted our process, but yeah, it's been almost 10 years that we've been working on it.
I mean, it's a very intimate collaboration, not only to direct a solo show where it's just one director and one actor, which is a different dynamic than one director and 25 actors, but it's also, you're directing him while he performs his own life. And I wonder what did that dynamic feel like in the rehearsal room, and how did you balance? I'm imagining that you are director, but also to some degree dramaturg, as
Absolutely.
he's developing the script and building it into shaping the story into the version of the story that he and you want to tell. And so I'm curious about that intimate dynamic in the rehearsal room, and how you, as a team, balanced like honoring his lived experience with the demands of like, we're going to tell a story in a theater, so we have to make it dramatically sort of interesting and compelling.
It's a little bit like dating. In the sense that you get together and you meet. I'm sitting around in your living room. Do we talk the same language? Do we enjoy each other's company? I got to come see your work. He had to come see a show that I directed. Okay, you're a good director. I have to watch him act. Okay, you're a good actor. I guess we can go out on a second date. So it is. It's very much a one-on-one. You spend all this time trying to figure out, do you trust each other? Do you have the same aesthetic? Where are your opinions different? How does he write versus how I write? We'd go back and forth about what tense something should be in, and have arguments about that, So it's like dating. Also, something that I think all of you will appreciate seeing the show is that it was developed with the sound design from the very beginning. So Robert, as a musician and a dancer, has always had an idea of how music really plays a role in the storytelling. So he approached Brian Ronan to write the piece with him before I even showed up. So normally in a normal process, I would have hired or sought out the designers and the whole team that I wanted to work with, and actually Bobby surrounded himself with designers that he liked to work with. And so when I came on board, I had to kind of figure out how to work with everyone, which is a very unusual situation to be in.
That is very unusual. Were there ever times where it was hard to present, because it is all his true life experience, but was there ever time that his true life experience didn't necessarily make good theater, or it was too intense perhaps for theater, or
Yes.
having to navigate what of this can we tell and how can we tell it?
Well, when, again, not wanting to be a spoiler, but we do get into some pretty dark territory where he is struggling at the very end of he might actually hurt himself. He might actually not make it. And we have really explored showing the audience kind of the nightmare of what that is, and have had to fine line how much does the audience really need to feel it to go there with him, and how many times do we have to go into a bathroom stall or take drugs or before everybody gets the situation that he's in. So that's been a major point of conversation through this whole time. How much do we need? And even Barry and I have had extensive discussions about how much we really need to show the audience, and have really crafted it and fine-tuned it here. Yeah.
It's a very intense story, but also incredibly fun. I mean, one of the things that I was so excited about when we first programmed this play in the round, so I want to talk a little bit about that because the play hasn't been done in the round before, is how exciting I find physical performance in that space because it's so small. We rarely do it. I feel like when we did, I don't know how many of you remember the play Somewhere, which was Matthew Lopez and Priscilla Lopez. It was a piece about a young man wanting to become a dancer and being inspired by West Side Story. And there was a lot of dance in the show. And just to see dance in that space is so exciting. It's exhilarating to get to be so close to somebody doing that kind of physical work. And so, I mean, this piece has not only has riding sequences, it has dance, it has just the physicality of him using the full space to tell the story. And I'm curious about how, first of all, how you guys translated the action of horse riding onto the stage, which isn't sort of, you know what I mean? Like, there's no horse. There is no horse. I'm sorry. Spoiler from me. So how you translated some of that physical vocabulary onto the stage, and now how you translated it to the round.
Well, I pitched this version to him. So the approach to this production, he has an incredible scrapbook of photos from this time in his life when he was aspiring to become a jockey, and has an incredible account with photography of his dance career. And I think that he had it in his head before I met him that there was going to be like a video design that was going to somehow encapsulate the writing sequences as well. And I just said, no, you're a dancer. Let's just do a dance show. I think that will be the most unique way to approach it. For me, the projection design was kind of the easy way to tell the story. And at that point, it should become a film. By the way, he's writing the film version of it.
I want to ask more about that.
Yeah.
Oh, exciting.
I have always thought that this play would flourish in the round. It's not an easy configuration to find in New York City affordably. Like maybe I think about like Circle in the Square. But most theaters in New York City are proscenium theaters, and those were the folks that were giving us the opportunity. So,
I love that you always wanted to do it in the round.
This theater, I want to shrink it, put it in my pocket, and take it back to New York City with me and blow it up again. It really, for me, it's in the ideal space. It's really fun to stage in the round. Yeah.
It's been my experience very frequently, and that. An artist or writer often or a performer will come in and go, the round. I don't think this is going to work in the round. And that by the time they leave, they say, I don't want to ever do it any other way than in the. There's something very seductive about the round. It will draw you in.
It's exciting. You got to keep moving. Yeah, you're right there, and people can only take so much of someone's back before you got to move them around, yeah. And I think that's why sports plays lend themselves to this kind of staging.
Yeah, we've done tennis plays in there. We've done many different kinds of sports. Baseball plays in there.
Yeah.
But you do. There is something about watching the virtuosity of a sports match that's similar to watching the virtuosity of Robert do this show.
No question, yeah.
There are moments in the play that shift really rapidly from humor to danger. Yeah. It's like humor to vulnerability or intensity. And I'm wondering, as a director, how you guide an actor and an audience through those tonal shifts.
Yeah, I think that one of the ways that Robert and I connected crafting this piece and why we decided to work together is because we both have similar senses of humor, and I think have come to discuss all of our favorite shows that really pull us in emotionally, but also can see how humans use humor to cope with difficult circumstances. And our favorite theater has that effect on us, and I think that's what we set out to make, is something that could really be truthful, and we could go into the heavy territory, but then do what we do, Robert and I, as humans, and try to see the light at the end of it. That really what we're doing is surviving and coping and trying to find our path. And you only do that through conflict and struggle.
And I find sometimes that it lets you feel more when you're able to also laugh.
Yes.
You relax into the trusting of the story and the storyteller, and then you can really be, as opposed to going, nope, this is this is too difficult. I'm going to take a step back here.
Yeah. And I've directed many, many solo shows, more than I ever thought I would. I think it's just a New York thing. Everybody's trying to make their own thing so they can be on stage. But one thing that I have learned directing them is they really do need to showcase the performer's gifts, first and foremost. And he's an incredibly gifted actor, incredibly gifted dancer, and he has a wonderful sense of humor and vulnerability to him. So I just feel like all of those strengths need to constantly be on display.
I love that. Are there things that you, as an artist yourself, the play is about resilience. It's about chasing a dream. It's about finding your path. And I'm wondering about if working on the play has affected your own perspective as an artist and what you hope audiences might take away.
I was just saying this to someone else, and I think I'll say it again. Simply, it's made me reflect on all the times in my life where I didn't get the job, or a door was slammed in my face, or something didn't work out. And all the times where immediately another door opened right after. Those things that you think you're supposed to have don't work out. And so that's really what I hope everybody universally sees in it, is all the times where a relationship didn't work out, or I didn't get the job, and how that pivot actually ended up informing your life. And in some ways it's meant to be. And I think both Robert and I believe that. So,
I love that.
Yeah.
I'm curious about, there are sort of different groups of audiences who might see this show, in addition to, general audiences like me, but there are like audiences that could be horse racing insiders, or people who were dancers, or people who were, and I'm curious about if you've had any experiences with different sort of niche audiences and how they have responded to the show. I know that for the previews and opening, we're going to have some jockeys will be here. We're going to have some folks from Del Mar Racetrack are going to be here, but I'm just curious about how different audiences might respond uniquely or universally to the show.
Well, we've done now 5 regional theater productions around the country, and I'm starting to notice that we do have some groupies.
Are any of you here tonight?
Yeah, and they tend to come from. Robert has done an incredible job maintaining this writing community and this jockey life. He's still plugged into the racetrack, so we have a lot of his old friends from that time, many of whom are featured as characters in the play, who will travel across the country each time and come see it. Yeah, and bring their family and. So I think that's been the most moving experience that I've had of audiences, are the people who have made their life on the racetrack, seeing their life on stage. Yeah.
So Robert's working on writing it as a film.
Yes.
How do you imagine the transition from stage to screen would alter we're imagining that it's going to be so here's bias on the table. Plays are better. I'm sorry.
Thank you. Yes, I agree.
Just to put that out there from my own perspective. I was just curious about if you know about how he's approaching it, what your thoughts are on the...
Well, he had already written it as a film called Under the Wire beforehand, and I have read that, and it's a good old screenplay with all the individual characters cast.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, I have no idea who would play Robert at 14, but that sounds like a great part. I don't need to be involved in the film. I'm not a film director. I don't have any problem with it. I just like you. Theater's better. I love directing theater, and I'm sure that at some point I'll get consulted on my opinion about certain things, but yeah, he's finally got it going.
Well,
it's going to
good for
happen.
him. I say great for him because there's a broad recognition of it. But what I love about the piece is the metaphorical language of theater used to encapsulate horse racing. You know what I mean? If I wanted to see horse racing, I can go to the Del Mar Fair, to the racetrack. But yeah, the conflation of dance and horse riding to me is what makes the play exciting, and it feels like something that would be hard to do in a film, which is just so much more literal.
Yes.
Well,
couldn't have said it
Jessi
better.
and I agree. Okay. I'm curious about, before we open it up to the audience, which we will do soon, a lot of your work has, Diversionary. Folks want to know, what did you direct at Diversionary?
Oh, back in the day, it was a spoken word poetry solo piece, actually.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah. I'm forgetting the name of it.
People have directed a lot of things, and there is no blame.
I have been doing this for 30 years, and I'm starting to forget.
San Diego people are just excited when we see San Diego theaters on people's bios, and we want to know. But you have worked a lot on new plays, many, many new plays. What excites you most about working on brand new stories as opposed to classic titles? Not that you have to dislike the other.
It's just so exciting to be thinking about the kind of theater that I want to make and the kind of people that I want to work with, and starting from there. It's just a very enriching artistic experience to be involved on the ground floor. Like, how are we going to tell this story? What needs to be heard about this story? And to be in that conversation, as opposed to just finding a play in a bookstore and deciding to do it. There's something about building it. I'm not a writer. I think I'm a pretty great dramaturg, and I enjoy it. So helping people craft their storytelling is just something that I really want to be a part of, not just on the back end, but in the early stages.
I love that. Okay, and again, bias on the table. Director of new plays is my title, so I get to be biased about new plays. What do you see as the biggest opportunities and challenges for directors of new plays and writers today? What are some of the things that you feel like are the things that are exciting and the things that are difficult in that new play world right now?
I feel like I've had this conversation with a lot of artistic leaders, and it's about finding a balance between supporting the artists and supporting and also trying to give the people supporting the theater what they want to see, and navigating that territory. I also feel like if it's a new voice, like nobody's ever heard their name, it's a hard sell. And that's always been true, and all the time that I've worked as a freelancer. I've run theater companies before, but I really I'm happiest as a freelancer. So really what I've had to do is and I know so many other freelancers that have had to get comfortable with the anxiety of, okay, what's coming next? What's coming next? What's coming next? Did I earn my health insurance?
It's the reason. I mean, actors, directors. I mean, everyone who works in the theater who isn't like me, based at an institution. It's a constant job search.
Yes,
and it's a constant no in your face.
Yeah.
Like you're looking for a job. Everyone hears no more than.
And sometimes it's an embarrassment of riches, and you have to say no to things, and then other times you're like, hello. I thought I did a great job last time. Why am I not getting a call? So yeah, it's a very, especially in New York City, it's just a very crowded market. And I've had to learn, okay, and I tell my directing students this, just do you, because there's no one else like you out there. So I just try to show up and put out the work that I feel should be out there and be myself. And just hope that that's the thing that stands out. I spent a little bit too much time in New York trying to be what everybody else was doing. And I think that that's a challenge, to give yourself permission to just do you. So
I love that. Yeah. I want to open it up for questions from the audience. I think that we have a microphone going around so that everyone will be able to hear your question, and so that we'll go on the recording. Yes, we can start in the back.
Could you please remind me what dramaturg does?
We're looking at each other like, who wants to take
I want to hear what you think a dramaturg is.
So does my father. So I have a joke. My father is a PhD in analytical chemistry. And so I always like to tell the story that he used to just say, can you just write whatever it is you do on an index card? And then when someone asks me, what does your daughter do? I can just be like, I don't know. Read this index card. When I think about what a dramaturg does, I think about dramaturgy as it relates to something like metallurgy. So when you're thinking about metallurgy, you're thinking about like, how do metals work? And how do I understand how they work well enough to get them to do really cool things? And so I think about dramaturgs somewhat similarly, that they're people who have studied and sort of deeply immersed themselves in how does drama work? And how can I get it to do really cool things? Often a dramaturg will work at a theater company, will support writers in the process of creation of shows, will support theater companies in the process of programming of shows, and will support audiences in the process of sort of understanding shows. So anything that invites people into the world of the play, be they audiences being invited by an event like this into the world of what does the play mean, to program notes, to helping the actors and directors into the world of the play in whatever way that might. But it's sort of somebody who understands how drama works, hopefully, at that sort of elemental level. Anything more would you like to add?
I love it. No, when I have worked with dramaturgs, it's usually someone that you really can count on, as you say, to really be looking at the play and what's clear and what isn't, and give you that perspective that you need when you've been looking at it really closely for a long time. And the best dramaturgs I've worked with just ask tough questions. They tell you very bluntly what's clear to them and what isn't, and what they feel needs to be addressed. If you're working on a piece that has a lot of real history that needs to get excavated and represented on stage, the dramaturg is the person that usually you can deploy for that kind of thing.
There was a time in my history as a dramaturg, which I guess I got my Master of Fine Arts in Dramaturgy in 1998. So that's not a short history of being a dramaturg, where we were like doing a lot of informational packets. Now we have Google. I don't make packets. Packets are not necessary anymore. But information design and management is, I think, also part of a dramaturg's job. How do we, bring together information that people working on the play or seeing the play might need, design it and deploy it so that people can actually have access to it. That's another part of sort of dramaturgy. I'm sorry, I could really talk all day, so I will stop myself. Another question. We will have the Insight Seminar on what is a dramaturg.
I'm always curious about people's background. And how did you get into the theater? Was it your parents who influenced you? One time when we heard Barry talk, he said, nobody ever goes to the theater on their own. Somebody always brings you to the theater. And I think there's a lot of truth to that, and we go out of our way to bring our grandchildren or whoever to the theater. I'd be curious about both of you, as far as your background. How did you learn to love theater?
No, I think that's right. I had parents who brought me. Yeah, as young as I can remember. My mom always just enjoyed going to the theater and having season tickets to the local theater.
Are they artsy people, your family, or?
No, art appreciation, yeah. Yeah, and I was lucky that I had parents that thought that was a really important thing, and I'm so grateful for it, because I'm an artist through and through, and I've definitely encountered people who didn't have exposure to the arts and discover their artistic interest later on in life. So. Yeah.
And did you always know you wanted to be a director? Was that always where you fell in the theater universe?
I fell in love with acting, and I do have another degree in acting. But I think directing was something that I really felt a strong pull to pretty early on in my life. I majored in it. I was 18 years old in undergrad. So, but it's a love of acting that draws me to directing. I like to say that I'm an actor in a director's body. And I think that's really people's experience of me, because I understand how to talk to actors and have a deep appreciation for their craft. But I want to also be crafting the picture. So
I love that. My parents also took me to the theater. Baton Rouge Little Theater, Peter Pan. That was my first theater production I ever saw. And I remember it like with an intense vividness that, will not ever be erased. And then I walked away because I was like, I'm not an actor. I did in high school when people do. And it wasn't until I understood that there was more that you could do in the theater than just act or direct or build a set that I was suddenly like, oh, there is a place for me. That I feel like it's so exciting because there's a place for people with every single possible skill set. If you look at the staff of this institution, people do spreadsheets, people are electricians, people are sculptors, people are writers, people are marketers. I mean, you can do absolutely anything and have a home in the theater. So, other questions? Yes, we'll come here and then.
I heard you say earlier that you and Robert first met in 2016 and started taking shape with this idea, and then I think I heard you say in 2019 the play really came into being.
Yes.
So I'm always curious about shows that go on for a long time. So this show has been performed for at least 6 years and maybe closer to 10 years. I'm curious about how performers stay motivated to do a show that long. What do you as the director do, or what can you do to help keep Robert or others motivated to keep, every night, because they do the show thousands of times. We as the audience may only see it once, and it has to be impactful to us. What do you as the director do to keep that motivation up?
I love that question. Small and a few other plays that I've helped build from the ground up with other artists, I've had the gift of having a step away from it, usually 6 months to a year between productions. So what's nice is it's kind of built in to come back at it a year later and look at what you made. And because you're a different person and because you've grown as a person and an artist, you're seeing things in the play that you didn't see a year ago. So having that perspective, I think, has been really key to Small, to be able to step away from it and come back to it. So as a result, each time the production gets more and more fine-tuned. Every stone has been turned over in this piece. Robert is 66 years old.
This is something I was about to say because Barry has been walking around the theater all week going, he is 60. Everyone, does you know he is 66 years old? I think it was just the amazement of watching him do this intensely physical, deeply demanding work that he's doing on stage.
And also, I don't have to do a lot of work to motivate him because he is so in love with his time on the track. He would share it all day, every day, if he could. I'm mentioning his age because I think it is something that's really wonderful to marvel at after you see the show. I want to be like him when I grow up. I hope that I'm as fit and motivated to perform at the level that he's performing at his age. But he also understands that the clock is ticking and time is running out. He's not going to be able to do even remotely the physicality. He's had lots of injuries as a dancer. He's had, knee surgeries from doing the show. So I think he's feeling very, very driven all on his own to share it as much as he can before his time runs out.
I'm curious, as he does the play over and over as he gets older and older, as we all do. No offense to Robert. Does his relationship to his younger self change as he gets farther from that younger self, as he grows into an older person?
I'd like to think so. It's taken us a while to find the vocabulary of him playing himself as a boy, and when he needs to switch to the storyteller, the narrator. And I think over time, the two have started to blend in a way where he has much, much more compassion for his younger self. I think that's all I'll say about that. I really want everybody to have their experience of it.
Awesome. Yes, I saw another question here in the center.
Well, to our moderator, it's my first time experiencing you doing this, and I find you very engaging and really enjoy the
thank
questions.
you. That's so sweet. I paid her. That's my mother. No, it's
If only. But to our director, you speak of such fondness and pride with Robert.
Yeah.
Do you experience him as a friend, and do you see yourself being in contact with him should he leave theater and you move on to other projects?
Oh, that's such a nice question. Yes, we are friends. One of the things about directing solo shows is you really do get to know. Saying that it's like dating is funny, but I'm also it is very real. The solo artist, especially if they're telling an autobiographical story, it's usually somewhere in traumatic experiences in their life, and they have to be comfortable sharing all of that with their collaborator. So, I don't know that I can say that I've poured my heart out to him in the same way. So it's not like that. It is a professional relationship, but we've spent plenty of time just socializing and hanging out and talking about things that don't have anything to do with the show. So yeah, I do think of him as a friend.
I think especially on new plays, there's an intimacy of a relationship, a close collaboration between a writer, and when it's writer and actor and autobiographical, just I can only imagine.
Yeah, and it besides our wonderful production stage manager, it is just the two of us. So many of these years, just the two of us bouncing ideas off of one another and enjoying our collaboration. So I think a friendship just naturally comes out of that.
One question here in the front.
We saw it on Saturday. It's amazing. The direction is amazing. I always worry about the round being in the wrong seat, but I was in the perfect seat. I think everyone else was.
Yeah.
But in the round, it's interesting for the audience because we get to see the audience.
Yes.
So how do you direct, as a director, actor as well, how do you teach those who may not see the reaction they want to see from the faces around them?
Well, I've also learned that if people really like it, they'll come back and they'll sit in another seat. I don't know, really, truly, when I was talking about having groupies, I think it's really true. I've had many people say that they've seen the show and they want to come back and see it again. So I don't worry about it. And I just feel like they're going to get most of it. And in the arena, you just cannot please everyone all the time. I mean, you can chase your tail in there forever. And there was a point in tech where I was being my OCD type A self and walking around and looking at every seat. And finally had one of the team say, you're going to wash everything out by trying to take care of everybody. You just can't do it. So I think it's just the nature of seeing something in the arena. And watching other people watch the show, to me, this particular show, is part of the experience. To hear everybody gasp and to see everybody breathless, and I almost am to the point where I like watching the audience more than the show.
You might have seen the show more than once at this point.
Yes. Yeah.
Wonderful.
I do feel like there was just enough of the graphic stuff you were talking about early on
Yes.
in it.
I love
At
hearing
least on
it.
Saturday, the first day. It was just enough to get the point across, and I felt it.
Thank you. It's been a long time. Yeah. I'm so glad to hear it. Thank you for sharing that.
Wonderful. I think we have time for maybe one more question. We want to come here in the center. I'm sorry if I'm missing someone in the back who's had their hand up for a long time. It's a little bright.
I'm wondering whether you think the show will go on to have a life after Robert can't physically do it anymore, or do you think that once he's done, that the show won't have anybody else that will...
He has plans to publish it. So I think in an ideal world, some young actor who loves the racetrack will want to do the play. It'll be published by Sam & French or something like that. Yeah.
It can sometimes be hard with these autobiographical shows, and especially this one, which is so built on his physical body. Like, the body of Robert is the story, I mean, in many, many ways. But I think that actors can and do inhabit these stories, and I really hope that they will continue to do the piece, because the piece as a piece of writing is as beautiful, I think. Not quite as beautiful as his performance, because it's hard to match that, but is almost as beautiful as his performance. So I really hope that they do.
Yeah, I can imagine an actor picking this up and wanting to take on the challenge of it. Yeah.
Wonderful. Okay, one more question. I'm a sucker. Sorry.
No.
Will he act in the movie? Was the question. If you couldn't hear, I mean, maybe he'll make it. Will he make a cameo? Can he like?
He'll probably make a cameo.
Can he be like shoveling?
I could see. Yeah, he'll be in the background shoveling manure in the stable.
I've cast his little Alfred Hitchcock cameo. There you go. I want to thank you so much to Jessi, especially since they're really so actively still in the process of doing the show, for taking the time to be here with us.
Of course, it
thank
really
all
is
of
my
you
pleasure.
for joining us.
Thank you.